I'm Kata, 30, and literally last weekend, my rep as the family's unfunny middle child? Yeah, it totally backfired. The comedy career I'd poured my heart into, the one I'd sacrificed sleep and sanity to build, it blew up into a full-on family betrayal at our so-called happy retreat. My parents, the ones who always preached family first, straight up excluded me, claiming there wasn't enough space, while 118 relatives and friends partied without me. They demanded I just get over it, and when I clapped back, the room went dead silent. "You're too sensitive, Kata," Mom yelled with everyone staring like I'd grown horns. But here's the tea. Their shade didn't break me, it lit a spark. I'm not just pushing back, I'm about to flip the script and change everything. A quick note, this story is copyrighted by the YouTube channel Brim. Reposting, revoicing, or editing this content without permission constitutes copyright infringement. Thank you for respecting original creative work. Now, back to the story. I've always been the odd one out. Growing up, my family had this mold: perfect, polished, predictable. My older sister, Rachel, was the golden child, straight A's, married a lawyer, popped out 2 kids by 28. My younger brother, Ethan, was the charming athlete, always the center of attention. Me? I was the middle kid, the one who told jokes at dinner that landed like wet paper towels. I'd spend hours practicing stand-up in my room, mimicking comedians like Amy Schumer, hoping for a laugh. But Mom would sigh, "Kata, why can't you be serious?" Dad would just change the subject. I thought comedy would be my way to shine, to make them see me. Instead, it made me invisible. Last weekend was supposed to be different. The annual family retreat at Lake Tahoe, a sprawling Airbnb, bonfires, group photos, was our big tradition. I'd been looking forward to it for months, thinking maybe this time they'd notice me. I'd just landed a gig at a local comedy club, my biggest yet. I practiced my set obsessively, imagining their faces when I told them. But then, 2 days before, Mom called. Her voice was clipped, like she was reading a script. "Kata, we're tight on space this year, maybe next time." My stomach dropped. I mumbled something, hung up, and sat on my couch, staring at the wall. Tight on space? For their own daughter? I refreshed my phone, hoping for a follow-up text, an apology, anything. Nothing came. That silence, it stung worse than any heckler ever could. The sting of Mom's call lingered, a dull ache that pulled me back to childhood memories I'd tried to bury. I was 9, standing in our living room, wearing a lopsided grin and a makeshift cape, performing a comedy skit I'd written for Rachel's birthday. I'd spent days on it, perfecting every punchline about her obsession with boy bands. Mid-joke, Dad coughed loudly, muttering, "Can we cut this short?" Rachel smirked, and Mom shushed me, saying, "Let's not ruin the party, Kata." Everyone clapped for Rachel's speech later, her poised thank yous earning hugs and cheers. My skit? Forgotten before the cake was cut. I shuffled to my room, cape dragging, promising myself I'd make them laugh one day. By high school, the pattern was set. Ethan's soccer trophies lined the mantel, Rachel's debate awards got framed. My first open mic night, where I got a standing ovation at a local cafe, barely registered. I'd rushed home breathless to tell them. "I killed it," I said, holding up a blurry photo of the crowd. Mom glanced up from her laptop, nodded vaguely, and said, "That's nice, honey. Did you see Rachel's acceptance letter to Stanford?" Dad didn't even look up from his newspaper. Ethan, sprawled on the couch, snorted. "Was it a clown show?" I laughed it off, but my chest tightened, like I was swallowing glass. Even in my 20s, nothing changed. At family dinners, I'd share stories about gigs, how I'd won over a tough crowd in Seattle, or got a callback for a comedy festival. Their eyes glazed over. "When are you getting a real job?" Dad would ask, passing the mashed potatoes. Rachel would chime in about her law firm's latest case, and Ethan's startup ideas always stole the spotlight. Once, I overheard Mom on the phone, bragging about her 2 successful kids. 2. The word hit like a slap. I started skipping dinners, telling myself it didn't matter. But each missed invite, each ignored text, carved a little deeper. I was the ghost in their story, fading into the background of their perfect family portrait. Now, sitting on my couch after Mom's call, those memories flooded back. I scrolled through old texts, looking for proof they'd ever cared. Nothing. Just Rachel's wedding invite, Ethan's launch party reminder. Events where I was a +1, not a priority. My fingers hovered over my phone, tempted to call Mom back to beg for an explanation. But I stopped. I wasn't a kid anymore, chasing their approval. The retreat's exclusion wasn't new, it was just louder. I set my phone down, hands trembling, and felt something shift. A spark of defiance. They could ignore me, but they couldn't erase me. Not this time. The sting of Mom's call lingered, a dull ache that pulled me back to childhood memories I'd tried to bury. I was 9, standing in our living room, wearing a lopsided grin and a makeshift cape, performing a comedy skit I'd written for Rachel's birthday. I'd spent days on it, perfecting every punchline about her obsession with boy bands. Mid-joke, Dad coughed loudly, muttering, "Can we cut this short?" Rachel smirked and Mom shushed me, saying, "Let's not ruin the party, Kata." Everyone clapped for Rachel's speech later, her poised thank yous earning hugs and cheers. My skit? Forgotten before the cake was cut. I shuffled to my room, cape dragging, promising myself I'd make them laugh one day. By high school, the pattern was set. Ethan's soccer trophies lined the mantel, Rachel's debate awards got framed, my first open mic night, where I got a standing ovation at a local cafe, barely registered. I'd rushed home, breathless, to tell them. "I killed it," I said, holding up a blurry photo of the crowd. Mom glanced up from her laptop, nodded vaguely, and said, "That's nice, honey. Did you see Rachel's acceptance letter to Stanford?" Dad didn't even look up from his newspaper. Ethan, sprawled on the couch, snorted, "Was it a clown show?" I laughed it off, but my chest tightened, like I was swallowing glass. Even in my 20s, nothing changed. At family dinners, I'd share stories about gigs, how I'd won over a tough crowd in Seattle or got a callback for a comedy festival. Their eyes glazed over. "When are you getting a real job?" Dad would ask, passing the mashed potatoes. Rachel would chime in about her law firm's latest case, and Ethan's startup ideas always stole the spotlight. Once, I overheard Mom on the phone bragging about her 2 successful kids. 2. The word hit like a slap. I started skipping dinners, telling myself it didn't matter, but each missed invite, each ignored text, carved a little deeper. I was the ghost in their story, fading into the background of their perfect family portrait. Now, sitting on my couch after Mom's call, those memories flooded back. I scrolled through old texts, looking for proof they'd ever cared. Nothing. Just Rachel's wedding invite, Ethan's launch party reminder, events where I was a +1, not a priority. My fingers hovered over my phone, tempted to call Mom back, to beg for an explanation. But I stopped. I wasn't a kid anymore, chasing their approval. The retreat's exclusion wasn't new, it was just louder. I set my phone down, hands trembling, and felt something shift. A spark of defiance. They could ignore me, but they couldn't erase me. Not this time. Mom's call left me hollow, but it also lit a fire I hadn't felt in years. I sat in my tiny apartment, the couch sagging under me, staring at a blank notebook. I'd always used comedy to cope, but this hurt, being excluded from the retreat, cut deeper than any heckle. I started scribbling, not jokes, but truths. The way Mom's voice tightened when she dismissed me, Dad's eye rolls at my gigs, the way Rachel and Ethan's successes always trumped mine. The words poured out, raw and messy, until I realized I wasn't just venting. I was writing a set. Not the polished one-liners I'd been performing, but something real, something that bled. For weeks I obsessed over it. I'd pace my living room at 2 a.m., muttering lines, tweaking phrasing, my hands gesturing wildly as I imagined the stage. I'd catch my reflection in the window, wild hair, red-rimmed eyes, and think, "This is it, Kata, this is you." The set became my secret rebellion, a way to scream what I'd never dared say. I wove in every slight, the birthday skit they ignored, the open mic they never attended, the no-space lie. Each line was a jab, sharp but honest, laced with humor that hurt to deliver. I practiced in front of my mirror, my voice cracking as I hit the punchline about being the family's invisible punch bag. It wasn't just funny, it was me, laid bare. I booked a slot at the Laugh Factory, a small venue, but big for me. The night came, and my hands shook as I gripped the mic. The crowd was sparse, maybe 30 people, but their eyes locked on me. I started slow, nervous, then let it rip. "My family says there's no room for me," I said, pausing as laughter rippled. "Guess I'm too funny to fit." The room roared. I pushed through, each line landing harder, my voice steadying as I owned the pain. When I finished, the applause hit like a wave. I stood there, breathless, tears prickling, knowing I'd done something unstoppable. Later, I uploaded the set to YouTube, my fingers hovering over the post button. This wasn't just a video. It was my truth, out there for the world. I hit upload, heart pounding, and watched the views tick up. 100, then 1,000, then a 10,000 overnight. Comments flooded in. "This is raw, you're a legend, I feel this." Strangers saw me, really saw me, in a way my family never had. But as the numbers climbed, so did my dread. My family would see this, they'd know. I clutched my phone, waiting for the fallout, knowing I'd just set something unstoppable in motion. The viral video's buzz hadn't faded, but the weight of the upcoming family retreat pressed harder. I sat on my bed, scrolling through Instagram, where my cousin's posts popped up. Smiling selfies by Lake Tahoe captioned, "Can't wait for the retreat." My chest tightened. I wasn't invited, yet here they were, hyping the event like it was a royal gala. I tossed my phone aside, the screen's glow mocking me. Tomorrow I'd have to face them, despite Mom's no space excuse. I decided to show up anyway, not to beg but to see their faces when they realized I knew about the 118 guests. My comedy set was out there, racking up views, but I hadn't told them, not yet. I paced my apartment, my bare feet cold against the hardwood. My duffel bag sat half-packed, jeans, a hoodie, my notebook with new jokes. I stopped, running my fingers over the notebook's worn cover where I'd scribbled lines after every family slight. Part of me wanted to skip the retreat, to stay home and ride the high of my viral moment. But another part, the stubborn kid who'd performed that birthday skit, needed to confront them. I imagined their eyes darting away, their forced smiles. Would they even mention the exclusion, or would they act like nothing happened? I sank onto the couch, my hands twisting the hem of my shirt. The retreat wasn't just a party. It was their stage, where Rachel shone as the perfect daughter, Ethan as the golden boy. I'd always been the extra, the one they forgot to seat. But now, with my video spreading, I wasn't invisible anymore. Strangers were quoting my lines, calling me brave. Yet the thought of facing Mom's tight-lipped frown or Dad's dismissive grunt made my stomach churn. I stood, grabbed my keys, and headed to the mirror. My reflection looked tired but defiant. "You've got this," I whispered, though my voice shook. I slung the duffel over my shoulder, my heart hammering as I locked the door behind me. The drive to Tahoe would take hours, plenty of time to rehearse what I'd say. I didn't want their apology. Not anymore. I wanted them to see me, the real me, not the forgettable middle child they'd erased. My phone buzzed with a new comment on my video. "Kata, you're a star!" I gripped the wheel tighter, a spark of courage flaring. Tomorrow I'd walk into that retreat, not as their outcast, but as the woman who'd turned her pain into power. They weren't ready for me. I pulled up to the Lake Tahoe Airbnb, a sprawling lakeside mansion glowing with string lights, laughter spilling from the open windows. My hands gripped the steering wheel, knuckles white as I scanned the packed driveway. Cars I recognized from cousins, aunts, even family friends who barely knew me. I took a shaky breath, grabbed my duffel and stepped out, the gravel crunching under my sneakers. The air smelled of pine and barbecue, but my stomach twisted, not from hunger but dread. I walked toward the front door, each step heavier, my heart thudding like a drum. I didn't knock, just pushed the door open and stepped into the gauntlet. Inside, the living room buzzed with relatives, their voices overlapping in a familiar hum. Rachel stood by the fireplace, wine glass in hand, laughing with an uncle. Ethan was sprawled on a couch, charming a cluster of cousins. Mom spotted me first, her smile freezing, eyes narrowing like I'd crashed a stranger's party. "Kata," she said, loud enough to draw stares. Heads turned, conversations faltered. Dad looked up from his beer, brow furrowing, but he didn't move. Rachel's lips pursed, and Ethan gave a half-smirk, like I was a punchline he'd heard before. "What are you doing here?" Mom asked, her voice sharp, crossing her arms. I set my bag down, my fingers trembling but my voice steady. "Thought I'd drop by, since there's so much space." The room went quiet, forks pausing over plates. A cousin whispered something and Rachel shot her a look. "Kata, we talked about this," Mom said, stepping closer, her necklace glinting under the chandelier. "It's not personal." "Not personal?" I swallowed a laugh, my nails digging into my palms. "Oh, it's personal," I said, louder than I meant. Dad stood now, clearing his throat. "Don't make a scene," he muttered, avoiding my eyes. Rachel chimed in. "You always take things too seriously, Kata." Her tone was syrupy, but her eyes were cold. Ethan chuckled. "What, no comedy routine tonight?" The room tittered and my face burned. I wanted to scream, to list every time they'd sidelined me, but I held back. Instead, I forced a smile, picking up a glass of water from the table, my fingers leaving smudges on the crystal. "Don't worry," I said, "I'm just here to see the show." I turned away, their murmurs trailing me as I headed for the deck. The lake shimmered under the moonlight, but my chest felt like it was caving in. They hadn't even blinked at their lie. No space. Yet here were 118 people, eating, laughing, living the life I was never part of. I gripped the railing, my resolve hardening. They could dismiss me tonight, but they wouldn't silence me. The deck's cool air couldn't calm the fire in my chest as I stood alone, the party's laughter echoing behind me. I leaned against the railing, my fingers tracing the rough wood, when Mom's voice cut through. "Kata, we need to talk." I turned to see her, Dad, Rachel, and Ethan approaching, their faces a mix of annoyance and authority. The crowd inside quieted, heads tilting toward the glass doors, eyes curious but distant. My heart pounded, but I straightened, meeting Mom's gaze. This wasn't just a talk, it was their verdict. Mom stopped a few feet away, arms crossed, her pearl earrings catching the porch light. "We've decided," she said, her voice clipped, "there's no room for you here." My breath caught, like I'd been punched. Dad shifted, staring at his shoes, while Rachel's lips twitched into a smug half-smile. Ethan leaned against a post, arms folded, watching like this was a game. "No room?" I repeated, my voice low but steady. "For me, your daughter, but plenty for 118 others?" I gestured toward the house where cousins and friends sipped drinks oblivious. "It's not like that," Dad mumbled, finally looking up, his eyes avoiding mine. "It's logistics, Kata." Logistics. The word stung, sharp as a slap. Rachel stepped forward, her heels clicking. "You're making this about you as usual," she said, tossing her hair. "This retreat is for family who fit." The emphasis landed like a blade. Ethan snorted. "Yeah, no offense, but you're not exactly the life of the party." Laughter rippled from inside, and my face burned, my hands clenching into fists. I wanted to scream, to list every time they'd erased me, but my throat tightened. Instead, I pulled out my phone, hands shaking, and opened Instagram. There it was, a photo of the retreat posted by a cousin, showing tables laden with food, fairy lights, and a crowd. 118 people, none of them me. I held it up. "Logistics, huh?" My voice cracked, but I didn't care. Mom's eyes flickered, but she didn't flinch. "You're too dramatic," she said, turning away. "Go home, Kata." The dismissal was final, public, a door slammed shut. I stood frozen, the phone heavy in my hand, their backs retreating into the glowing house. The crowd's chatter resumed, but it felt distant, like I was underwater. My eyes stung, but I blinked hard, refusing to cry. They'd shunned me, in front of everyone, like I was nothing. But as I gripped my phone, I remembered my viral set, the thousands who'd seen me. They could reject me, but they couldn't stop me. Not anymore. I stood on the deck, the lake's dark water reflecting my trembling hands as I clutched my phone, their dismissal echoing in my ears. My family had just publicly shunned me, and the weight of it pressed my chest tight. But then my phone buzzed, a sharp vibration that snapped me back. A notification from YouTube. My comedy set had hit 500,000 views. I blinked, my thumb hovering over the screen, heart racing. I opened the app, and the numbers climbed in real time. 600,000, 700,000, comments flooding in. "Kata, you're a genius." This hit me hard. Strangers were sharing my pain, my truth, while my family stood inside, laughing over their catered dinner. I scrolled through the comments, my breath shallow. "Your family doesn't deserve you," one read. Another, "You made me cry and laugh at once." My eyes stung, but a smile tugged at my lips. I wasn't invisible anymore. I glanced through the glass doors, where Mom was clinking glasses with an aunt, oblivious. My fingers moved before I could think, refreshing Instagram. A cousin had just posted a story from the retreat, smiling faces, a bonfire, hashtags about family love. My stomach twisted, but then I saw it, a comment under my video tagged to Rachel. "Is this your sister? She's blowing up." My pulse spiked. They'd see it soon. I paced the deck, my sneakers scuffing the wood as more notifications poured in. A local news outlet had shared my set, calling it a raw, viral takedown of family dysfunction. My phone buzzed again, a text from my friend Mia, who'd filmed the set. "Kata, you're trending on Twitter." I froze, my hands shaking as I opened the app. Kata the comedian was climbing, with clips of my set shared thousands of times. "Middle child energy," one tweet read. with a laughing emoji. Another. This woman is my hero. I pressed my palm to my mouth, stifling a sob. The world saw me, really saw me. Inside, I caught Ethan glancing at his phone, his smirk fading. Rachel's head snapped toward him, her eyes narrowing. They knew. I slipped my phone into my pocket, my heart pounding, but my spine straightening. This was my moment. Not just a viral video, but proof I didn't need their validation. I'd turned my pain into something bigger, something they couldn't ignore. As I leaned against the railing, the lake's breeze cooling my face, I felt a shift. They'd tried to erase me, but I'd written myself into the world's story. And they were about to learn what that meant. The deck's quiet was shattered when the glass doors slid open, and Rachel stormed out, her face flushed, phone in hand. "Kata, what the hell is this?" she hissed, shoving her screen toward me. My viral comedy set paused mid-punchline. Ethan followed, eyes blazing, with Mom and Dad trailing, their expressions a mix of fury and shock. The party inside hushed, faces pressing closer to the glass, watching like vultures. My heart thudded, but I stood tall, my hands steady despite the urge to flinch. They'd seen the video, my raw, honest takedown of their rejection, and they weren't here to apologize. "You humiliated us," Mom snapped, her voice trembling, her necklace glinting as she pointed at me. "How dare you air our private business online?" Dad's jaw clenched, his knuckles white around his beer bottle. "You think this makes you funny?" he growled. Rachel stepped closer, her perfume sharp, her eyes cutting. "You're so desperate for attention, Kata. This is pathetic." Ethan smirked, but it was forced, his fingers tapping nervously on his phone. The comments must have stung. Strangers calling them out, praising me. I took a breath, my voice low but clear. "Humiliated you? You excluded me from your family retreat." I gestured at the house, the 118 guests now staring. "You lied about no space and expected me to swallow it." Mom's eyes darted away, her lips tightening. Rachel scoffed. "You're twisting it, you always do." But I wasn't backing down. I stepped forward, my sneakers scuffing the deck. "Twisting it?" I told the truth. "You've ignored me my whole life and I'm done pretending it's okay." The air crackled, their silence heavy. Dad muttered, "You're overreacting," but his voice wavered. I shook my head, my hands unclenching. "No, I'm done. You don't get to define me anymore." I turned, grabbing my duffel, my heart pounding but light, like I'd shed a weight. As I walked past them, Rachel grabbed my arm, her nails digging in. "You'll regret this," she whispered. I pulled free, like meeting her eyes. "I regret ever begging for your approval." I strode through the house, heads turning, whispers trailing me. At the door I paused, glancing back at the glowing party, my family, frozen, their perfect facade cracked. I stepped into the cool night, the gravel crunching under my feet, my breath steady. They'd tried to shame me, but I'd exposed their hypocrisy and it felt like freedom. My phone buzzed, another 100,000 views. I smiled, small but real, and drove away, leaving their world behind. Driving away from the retreat, my hands still shook on the wheel but my chest felt lighter, like I'd exhaled a breath I'd held for years. A week later, I sat in a cozy coffee shop in San Francisco, the smell of roasted beans grounding me. My friend Mia, who'd filmed my viral set, had invited me to meet her comedy crew, strangers who'd seen my video and reached out online. I fidgeted with my coffee mug, its warmth seeping into my palms, nervous about meeting people who knew my pain so intimately. The bell above the door jingled and Mia walked in with 3 others, their faces lit with grins I didn't expect. "Kata, the legend," said Javier, a lanky guy with a nose ring, sliding into the booth. His voice was warm, not mocking, and I laughed, my shoulders easing. Sarah, with bright purple hair, leaned forward, her bracelets clinking. "You're set." It gutted me. My family's the same, always picking favorites. I blinked, my throat tight. They weren't just fans, they saw me. Mia squeezed my hand under the table, her eyes soft. "You're not alone anymore," she whispered. The 4th, a quiet woman named Priya, nodded, her fingers tracing the rim of her cup. "You made me feel brave," she said. We talked for hours, swapping stories of being overlooked, of fighting to be seen. Javier recounted his dad dismissing his improv dreams. Sarah shared how her sister's PhD overshadowed her art. Each story felt like a mirror, reflecting my own hurt but also my strength. I leaned back, my hands no longer clutching the mug, and felt a warmth that had nothing to do with coffee. These strangers weren't family, but they chose me, not because of obligation but because my words resonated. As the sun dipped, casting golden light through the windows, Javier raised his glass. To Kata, who turned pain into power. They all cheered, and I blushed, my eyes stinging but my smile wide. This was the opposite of the retreat's cold exclusion. No forced smiles, no backhanded jabs, just acceptance. I thought of Mom's tight-lipped frown, Rachel's smug glare, and realized I didn't need them anymore. These people, this chosen tribe, saw me as Kata the comedian, not Kata the outcast. My phone buzzed, another comment on my video, "You're my hero." I set it down, face up, letting the words linger. For the first time I felt like I belonged, surrounded by people who celebrated the real me. The coffee shop glow faded, but the warmth of my new tribe stayed with me as I returned to my apartment, my phone buzzing with notifications. My family had seen the viral video, texts from Rachel, voicemails from Mom, even a curt email from Dad. "We need to talk," Mom's message said, her voice tight, like she was swallowing glass. Rachel's text was sharper. "You've gone too far, Kata." I sat on my couch, my fingers tracing the worn armrest, their words stirring old guilt. Part of me wanted to call back, to smooth things over like I always had. But I stopped, my jaw tightening. No more. I deleted Mom's voicemail without listening to the rest. My hands shook as I blocked Rachel's number. Each tap a small rebellion. Ethan's texts, full of fake concern, got the same treatment. I opened Dad's email, his words cold. "You've embarrassed us. Fix this." I stared at the screen, my pulse racing, then hit delete. My apartment was quiet, the hum of the fridge the only sound. I stood, pacing, my sneakers scuffing the floor. This wasn't just about the retreat, it was about years of being erased. I wasn't their punching bag anymore. I grabbed a notebook, jotting down new boundaries. No contact unless they acknowledged the hurt, no more fake apologies, no more begging for their approval. My pen dug into the paper, ink smudging as I wrote. If they wanted back in, they'd have to earn it. I thought of me as crew, their laughter, their stories, people who didn't demand I shrink myself. My phone buzzed again. A cousin, probably sent by Mom, asking to meet and talk. I didn't reply. Instead, I texted Mia, "Thanks for today, I'm done with them." Her response was instant, "You're free now." I walked to my window, the city lights flickering below. My reflection stared back, not the scared kid who'd performed for their approval, but a woman building her own life. I'd spent years chasing their love, but now I saw it. Their rejection wasn't my failure, it was theirs. I turned away, my shoulders relaxing, and sat at my desk opening my laptop. New emails from comedy clubs poured in, invites to perform, to collaborate. My fingers hovered over the keyboard, a smile breaking through. I'd built a fortress, not of walls, but of choices, choosing myself, my truth, my people. They could knock, but I held the key now. With my family's texts silenced, my world felt quieter, clearer, like a fog lifting. I sat at my desk, laptop open, the glow illuminating my hands as I typed an email accepting a gig at a major comedy festival. My viral set had opened doors, clubs, podcasts, even a small TV spot. But it wasn't just the opportunities, it was what they meant. I wasn't just Kata, the overlooked middle child. I was Kata, the comedian who turned pain into power. My fingers paused, hovering over the keys, as I realized I was rewriting my story, not just for me, but for others. I started reaching out, using my platform to lift up other comedians like Mia, Javier, and Sarah. I invited them to open for me at a local show, my hands shaking as I sent the group text, nervous they'd think I was showing off. Their replies flooded in. "Hell yes," from Javier, heart emojis from Sarah. Mia called, her voice bright. "You're building something, Kata," she said. I smiled, my chest warm, picturing us on stage, sharing stories that made people laugh and cry. I wasn't just reclaiming my name, I was creating a space where others could shine. One night I performed at a packed club, the spotlight hot on my face. I told new jokes, ones about finding your tribe, about standing tall when family lets you down. The crowd roared, their applause vibrating through me. After, a young woman approached, her hands twisting nervously. "You're set, it's my life," she said, eyes wet. I thought I was alone. I hugged her, my throat tight, and whispered, "You're not." That moment wasn't about fame, it was about impact. I'd turned my hurt into something bigger, something that reached strangers who felt unseen. Back home, I hung a photo from that night on my wall. A grainy shot of me on stage, mid-laugh, the crowd a blur of smiles. My family's name, once a weight, felt lighter now. I wasn't erasing it, I was redefining it on my terms. My phone buzzed, a new comment on my video. You've changed how I see myself. I set it down, my fingers steady, and looked at the photo. This was my legacy. Not theirs, a life built on truth, laughter, and connection. I wasn't just surviving their rejection, I was thriving, creating a ripple effect they'd never understand. I stood in my apartment, the morning light filtering through the blinds, casting soft stripes across my notebook. Its pages, once filled with desperate jokes to win my family's approval, now held stories of resilience, scribbled after late-night gigs. I traced the ink, my fingers steady, and realized I no longer needed their validation. The retreat's sting, the viral video, the confrontation, they'd led me here, to a quiet moment where I could finally see myself clearly. I sat on the couch, my hands resting lightly, and let the truth settle. My worth wasn't tied to their acceptance. I thought back to the coffee shop with me as crew, their laughter, their stories mirroring mine. They'd shown me what belonging felt like, not a forced seat at a family table, but a chosen one among people who saw me. My phone lay silent, no longer buzzing with my family's demands. I'd blocked their numbers, but more than that, I'd freed myself from their expectations. I pictured Mom's tight-lipped frown, Rachel's smug glare, and felt nothing. No anger, no ache, just peace. I'd spent years chasing their love, but now I loved myself enough to let go. I opened my laptop, the screen glowing with new messages from fans, comedians, even a producer interested in a special. Each one felt like a brick in the life I was building, one where I defined my value. I leaned back, my shoulders relaxed, and smiled. The world had seen my pain and cheered my strength. That was enough. I didn't need a family photo on the mantle. I had a stage, a mic, and a tribe who got it. My heart felt full, not from their approval but from my own. So, what do you think? Did I cut ties too harshly, or was it just right? Standing up to my family wasn't easy, but it was freedom. Have you ever had to walk away from people who didn't see you? Drop your story in the comments. I'd love to hear it. This journey taught me my worth isn't in someone else's eyes, it's in my own heart. You've got that power too. Own it, share it, let it shine. Hit that subscribe button for more stories about finding your voice, and let's keep this conversation going. You're not alone, and neither am I.